Warning: This show describes graphic sexual situations and is for mature audiences only.
Good to go.
Alright, so you finished my 12 houses. I guess we can go back to Pooh because you only did like half of hers.
No, with the pool I stopped, I think, with the 11th house, right? I think we got through.
We stopped at 6 or 7.
It was like, I remember you said my relationships, but you never said anything about sex.
She did.
Nuh-uh. Not for me. Yes, you do.
Because she was like, you get like distracted and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so you had the, because I think I stopped with the 9th house because you both had the Jupiter in the 9th, and that's where I kind of connected Jasmine in your chart. So, who for you, I mentioned the 8th house was Gemini, and I basically mentioned that you were in your head a lot with sex.
Yeah.
And that, so if you want me to elaborate on that, I can go back and we talk about more like our intimate partners and things like that. But just finishing off your natal chart, we can, we mentioned the 9th, and so we can go ahead and go to the 10th house, which will be Leo for you. And Leo at the top of our chart, or at the top of your chart, is going to be a profession where, I mean, you're going to be dealing with hair, okay? So you're going to be dealing. So, but what I mentioned with Jasmine, as far as all the Leo stuff, beautifying yourself, making yourself, look presentable and things like that. But it's going to be for you in the house of your career. So Leo for you is going to be something where it's using your creativity and your profession. So it doesn't have to do with hair, but I just said that just because Leos have to do a lot of names. Like my son is Leo, and he has like big curly hairs. So for you, it doesn't have to be that, but if it is, then kind of is on point. But anything that is Leo-like, so you could be, singing, you could do anything that's creative, on anything like on stage or anything like that. For you, your 11th house is Virgo, and Virgo in the 11th is going to be a person that, you know how I mentioned before that you may not be quick to do actions and things like that. You're going to be a little bit more quicker to do them if you're around like a group of people. So, for example, if your friend called you up and they wanted to, go out and they just wanted to, go out and get some drinks, if you guys were all getting together, getting ready together, you would be a lot quicker. But if you were by yourself, you would be taking your sweet old time. Like, it's really hard to do it if you're around a lot of people, you can get work done. So your 12th house then is going to be Libra, and Libra is ruled by the sign, ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus has to do with our beauty and the things that we're attracted to. It also has to do with taking care of ourselves. And Libra is also the sign where it's the diplomatic sign, so it has to do with making decisions. So for you in the house of secret and in the house of things that are hidden or hidden from yourself, it's going to be hard for you to make decisions. It's going to be hard for you to be decisive about, the bigger decisions in life. Like, going to the grocery store and deciding on what you want for lunch is going to be easy. But those bigger decisions on like, where do you want to end up living, or what, if you're in college and you're taking a major, you kind of don't know which one you want to pick or whatever. So for you, making decisions is going to be somewhat difficult, but you can work through that by sticking to the things that you actually like. Like, don't overexert yourself and start saying yes to a whole bunch of things that you really don't care about, because then you're just going to overexert yourself and you're going to be doing too much.
Damn.
Wow. So from, I guess, the 10th house on, do you have any kind of feedback or any questions from them?
Bam. Okay, so when you said the Leo was in my career, and I'm in cosmetology, so that's hair. I
Okay.
have my license.
Okay.
Shit,
But do you use said license?
I don't.
Because
Because like you said on my 12th, I'm indecisive.
But do you see the wealth coming from her hair? From
Are you asking about money for
yeah.
her?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for Pooh, your second house is Sagittarius. So I would see something that has to do with travel. So like,
I ain't been no damn well.
Oh shit! Well, you better go fast, girl.
Right.
The money and the travel, girl. You better get the big book of plane somewhere.
do you like to travel?
I don't know. I never been nowhere.
So do you like the idea of travel?
Hell yeah. I plan in my head that I'm getting the hell away from here, but I'm gonna do it. I'm
So
indecisive.
you have Jupiter in the ninth already, naturally, like natally. So your mental state is kind of already there. I mean, you could basically, set up your living room to, be a Hawaiian theme, and you feel like you're there. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean you'll travel. But as far as where you're going to make money from, it's going to be doing those type of fiery things. So the second house, sixth house, and the 10th house is where we look for. I guess like financial abundance, like where you would be making money. It's not just one chart, it's not just one area, but for you, that would be Sagittarius in the second, and Aries in the sixth, and then the 10th house Leo. So all of those themes. So when you do a reading with me, I'll let you know exactly what all of those things are. If you wanted to change, careers or solidify what you actually want, we can talk later.
Okay.
Aww.
All 12 was spot on.
So I know you went over my chart with me last Sunday when you were briefing me, but I think, did y'all want to hear my chart?
Yes.
Okay. Could you do my chart for the ladies?
Yes, I'm pulling it up now. So Missy, you are a Libra rising, and everything about your physical appearance is beautiful. So, when people first meet you or first see you, they are going to think that there's something beautiful about you. It doesn't have to be your entire, person or your entire physical look, but something about you is going to be physically attracting to other people. And if it's not, then you're gonna appear a certain way to kind of make sure that you're appealing to that person. So, if a person around you is like really sassy, then you're going to appear in that sassy manner. Your second house, and you have the first house, the planet Pluto, but it is kind of, if you see it now, you can see that it's cusping on the second house, and cusping just means that it's moving more towards the energy of that second house. So your second house is Scorpio. Your third house is Sagittarius, and third house Sagittarius just means that you like to mentally process, different aspects of your life. So you're the type that would be very introspective as a child. Like you saw everything and you pointed it out to everyone. Like you would see if there was something in the family or nothing got past you basically as a child. And with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, those planets being in that house, your siblings would have been kind of erotic, like not erotic, but erratic, where they're be coming and going. Like your relationships with your siblings is going to be like hot and cold. It's going to be, kind of like we're best friends, but then we're not. And for the most part, it's going to take something having a close bond to make us really connect. With Neptune being close to your fourth house, it means that you like water and that you like to be around water. Neptune for you is in Capricorn, So it means that when you were growing up, you had to do a lot of responsibilities similar to Pooh, and it required a lot of stability. So you yourself had to like figure out, even if everything else was chaotic around you, you had to like the chaos had to be somewhat internalized into like, okay, well, that's going on out there, but this is me and I am here. Your fifth house is Aquarius, and there's no planets in your fourth or fifth house. Your sixth house is Pisces. So with the fifth house being Aquarius and the sixth house being Pisces, it means that your interests, your hobbies are going to be something that is going to be, I guess, technological related, but it's also going to be something that's going to be out there. So something that is not of the norm. So you're going to like or gravitate towards people or things that is not like normal. With Pisces being in the sixth, you're going to do things that is going to be healing for a job. You're going to do things that is going to be kind of sort of metaphysical in some natures. And moving on to the seventh, you have Aries in the seventh, but you actually have the planet Jupiter. So I know that you asked me before, like, is it possible that you would, settle down? And I do see that in your chart because you have Jupiter in Aries. But remember what I mentioned before, Jupiter is like overindulgent. So an abundance of, so you can have multiple marriages or multiple partners.
You better preach it, girl.
Hey, married to be just, divorcing and then just getting married multiple times because you just living a life that is not really tied down. So it's up to you, but I do see some type of, there's a connection and there is a need for partnership with having a planet and basically having that, Jupiter in there. There's a definite need for you to have a connection, but it's kind of like, what type of relationship do you want? For the eighth house, Missy, I mentioned already that you have the eighth house Taurus, so you have your Sun and Venus in the eighth house. And then going on to the ninth house, we have Gemini. You have you have Mercury, Mars, and then you also have Chiron in the ninth house. And so with Mercury and Mars in the ninth, it means that and it's in Gemini. So actually, yes. So the ninth house is Gemini for you, but Mercury and Mars is actually in the sign of Cancer. Okay, so can you see that on the chart where your ninth house has 3 planetary bodies, but it actually moved over into the 10th? Can you see that, Missy?
I gotta pull it back up in my DM.
Okay, no problem. But I just wanted you to take a look at that just because a lot of that is tied into that 10th house, and that means that a lot of that is tied into your profession. So the planet Mercury and the planet Mars is in the same sign as your moon, which is where your career is. So your emotions and your actions and your communication is all in that career field. And then that's in the sign of Cancer. So for you at the top of your chart, that 10th house is going to be Cancer. And so that's going to be nurturing. That's going to be taken care of. That's going to be mothering. And very much like what you do. So that's very maternal. A lot of dominatrix, a lot of the things that the profession that you mentioned before, and that's a lot of taking care of people.
Yes, it is.
And for you, Missy, you have Leo in the as the 11th sign, and no planet in the 11th. I'm gonna just go back to just mention that moon in your 10th is gonna basically mean that your feelings and emotions was very much tied to your mom growing up. Like however she felt growing up, that's how you internalize your feelings to be. Whether they were true or not, like if she was outright angry, then you would be outright angry. Basically have no outlet of your own until your adult life. Now whoever the maternal figure was growing up that kind of made you feel certain ways, you're kind of now knowing how to process those feelings and you're kind of using other people as the method of doing that. So for the 10th house, for the 11th sign, Leo, that is going to be your friend group. So it's going to be, you're going to want to shine around your friends, right? You're going to want to be the center of attention, and you're going to want to like make sure that people know that you're the bomb. So in a crowd of people and they don't know, like they haven't noticed you yet, there's going to be something about you that you're going to like drop something or flash somebody or do something that's going to get somebody to move. And it's not going to be like hella like in everyone's face, but it's just going to be like, I'm here. Recognize me. You have the 12th sign as Virgo. So Virgo, I think I mentioned this for you, Missy, that is going to something difficult, not difficult, but tightness, keeping things clean and things like that is going to be somewhat difficult for you. I think you mentioned that earlier.
It's organized. Mm-hmm.
So that's your chart, Missy.
What's the 6th house again? I keep missing that.
The 6th house, as far as your sign or just in general?
In general.
So it's our work and it's our like daily habits. So the things that we do every day.
Okay.
Helpful habits.
Okay. Thank you.
Those are teams and like things we do every day.
Aww. Can you tell me what my moon is? I have my rising star, my rising sign Libra. What is my moon?
Cancer.
And I think it's one more that you go over. My sun? Is it sun?
Yes, Sun Gemini, Moon Cancer, and a Libra rising.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody got any more questions? I wonder if we could do like a follow up with you like later in season 2. Like after I do like my one-on-one with her, what she was saying, we can book a one-on-one with her. Mm-hmm. I wonder if maybe we can do like a follow up with her. That would be dope. Like about the one-on-one. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the category I picked to go deeper in. What do you think?
So did we want to, I guess, round things up by talking about sexuality, or is that something that we wanted to save for next time?
No, let's talk about it now.
You can finish with that.
Yeah, let's. Because my 8th house is Taurus.
And we are Tauruses.
So for Taurus, not for Taurus, for 8th house, yes, that would be where we would look for sex. Again, I mentioned the 5th house as far as affairs or things that we would be interested in. So we would look at the whole entire chart in itself. You would look for Venus, you would look for Mars, you would look for a number of different things. So in talking about sexuality or just who we would be interested in, we could look at a birth chart and just see some of the, I guess, tendencies. So for me, I would say that I am straight, but I have quote unquote gay tendencies. So
you're a little gay.
So, females, and I have been intimate with a female, but I'm not in a relationship with a female, so I wouldn't say that I am, like bi, I guess. But I am, like I said, have gay tendencies. So you can check that in a chart, and one of the things that I've been interested in lately is looking at birth charts and just seeing if we can identify our like sexual orientation. So for Missy, I can see for you, we have the same 5th house Aquarius. And as I mentioned, 5th house is ruled by Uranus. So that has to do with spontaneity. That has to do with who we're attracted to and what we're attracted in. So we're interested in anything that is different. So if there is something unique about you, whether you're male or female, then we're going to be attracted to that because it's like we see something in that individual and we're attracted to that. And for Do we want to what I see in Pooh's chart?
Yes.
Yes. So for Pooh, I see that, okay, your sexual attraction is men only, but it's going to be like, okay, you can, like, you're like really straight, right? But you can see you can take value in female body. And you can like appreciate the female body. Is that true?
Yes.
I don't think so. Look, it wasn't a real no.
So would you consider yourself straight?
No.
No? Okay. So for you, I would say that a lot of that has to do with what I'm seeing is Mars in the 5th, right? But that Gemini in the 8th, it's almost like I can't see in your chart if you've actually initiated into anything, right? Because Mars is in the 5th, but it's in Pisces. So a lot of what I'm seeing in your chart has to do with like, did it really happen? So even to you, like, okay, in your relationships and things like that, it's not really like solid. It's not really like the interest is here nor there. Like you can't really place it. Mm-hmm. You know how people have a type, like I know for me, I have a type, like there's a certain type of person that I'm interested in, right? But for you, it seems like it's a little bit more fluid than that. But I don't think that it's not seeing to me that it's like gender oriented to me.
Could that be because she's so indecisive in the first place that it just translates to that?
It could be that, but honestly, it could be that she herself doesn't know if she's male or female. And I'm not saying like, anything of like, okay, you're not, identity, but like at some points you can be almost too much masculine into where you question that to where it would be, okay, well, do I need a male or do I need a female? Who am I? What am I presenting as?
Yeah. I see that now. I see that one. Okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple different ways to read in the birth chart. But like I said, that Mars in Pisces is the 5th with Gemini in the 8th. It's kind of like there's a lot to wrap your head around, and there's a lot of steps to get worked out before you even like say who you would want to be with. But what I do see is a lot of like quick things. So like I don't see that you've had many long-term relationships. I see a lot of like quick flings.
Yeah. I don't think I ever had a long relationship.
Is that something that you desire, or is that something that like society says that you should have until you want it?
Well, a long relationship? I don't know. I'm indecisive about that one. No, but I mean, that's something I think about.
Okay.
Having a long relationship, but like I was telling him earlier, like I've never seen that with my mom. I've never seen my mom be in relationships growing up, so I kind of figured that played a part in how I am now.
Right. And honestly, though, I mean, with the Pisces being in the 5th, you know how some people say, like, well, I'm in love with Jesus. Like, it could be. Like,
it's going to be a nun.
Oh, shit.
But that's how my mom was, and like when her and my father split to when she got married 10 years ago. That's how she was. She was just strictly on the Lord. I mean,
so that's something that we would be able to
meet
with your mom's birth chart. Even if you only knew her birthday, you didn't have the time. We can look at certain of these planets and see where they are, and just see how they're influencing you as well. That's one of the things that I talked about when I mentioned before about generational. I don't want to say curses, but generational traumas. Things that we see that are passed down to us. So if it's not something that you want, if you don't want relationships where you're just in love with religion or in love with Jesus or in love with, that, then that's something that we can work on and just see different points and just work more on making decisions for you.
Okay. I want stability. I don't want to be like this.
But remember, she said you don't want to be the stable one. You just need like that stable person in your life.
Exactly.
Right. Seven in the house, you have.
Yeah.
Yep, you have 7. So that's where the stability comes in, and the partner that that you can rely on, and that's also loyal. Because Taurus is about loyalty.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So for Jasmine, so for Jasmine's chart, again, we're going to look at the 5th house, the 8th house. We're going to look, depending on if you are, straight or bi or pansexual and transsexual and all those different terms. There's a different way of looking at your chart, right? But for you in the 5th house, it's going to have Capricorn, right? But it's going to have Neptune. So for me, I see something to where you're like dreaming a lot about another gender, but not necessarily doing a lot of action, right? Because Capricorn is led by the planet Saturn. And so that has to do with like slow growth. So you are going to be attracted to people who are going to be like, there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot of like packs, there's a lot of shit. Neptune also has to do with like drugs and alcohol. So you could be either yourself or attracted to somebody that is an alcoholic or that likes drugs or alcohol.
Bitch, going grave to bed.
I mentioned before is Aries, and again that has to do with fire. It has to do with being like passionate. So when you do have sex or when you do make love, you're gonna make love passionately. It's gonna be like almost aggressive. It's not that like slow love making. In fact, like you don't really like that. It's not like okay, be slow and like pet me and like that kind of stuff. Like you don't
She
like
wanna
that.
be choked. She wanna be
That ass
spanked.
pull up.
Okay, fucking the ass. That's how she get down.
And the whips and chains and like a little bit of pain or painful and like that kind of stuff. I don't know if you like to bite lips or things like that and like show a little bit of blood, but that would be also
Maybe we mixed up. Cause that sound like me.
Oh man.
I'm about to be 32 and I still get hickeys, so.
blood, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Do we have any final questions?
This is crazy.
It's wild. I mean, we can ask questions all night, but.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So also, just as far as one of the things, or some of the things that I look at as far as sexuality or like gender, or sexual orientation, I mean, is Aquarius or an Aquarius stellium, which is a bunch of planets in Aquarius, because Aquarius is about presenting themselves as like eccentric, and so a lot of them are going to be, our gay community. And if you know or if you've heard anything about the Aquarian age, like we're moving away from the Piscean age and we're moving into the age of Aquarius, then you'll know that that's like a lot of the technological advances that we have, but that's also our own communities and our, basically we're just becoming one. And so like the transgender community and also, a lot of like, just this fluidity itself, a lot of that is becoming because of this age of Aquarius. Have you heard about that?
I've heard like a reference to it, especially when I was like studying religion and stuff a lot, but I didn't really know what it meant. But yeah, I've heard of it. I just didn't know what it all means. But yeah,
I feel like I've kind of seen that.
what?
Like,
Yes. again, how I was mentioning the cycles, but it's all of the zodiacs in one full cycle. It's about 2,000 or so years. Mm-hmm. So in the last 2,000 or so years, we've had religion, right? Because like the quote unquote birth of Jesus is the start of like 0 RD. So that's like the last 2,000 years. Well, the next 2,000 years is going to be an Aquarian. So that's going to be us, the robots taking over and all. So yeah, we haven't seen nothing yet because it's only been, a few years or so. It's like 2012-ish since we like really moved into this Aquarian age. So I mean, it's still thousands, hundreds of thousands years to go. So we're gonna see.
I guess my final question, I don't know if you've looked at 2020 as a whole yet. Like, do you see, and I'm not just talking about us specifically, but maybe just in general, like how 2020 is going to be? Because I remember you, when we were talking about the pregnancy, you were like, right now is like a weird time to be pregnant. So I didn't know if you looked at the year as a whole.
So, yes, I've been looking at what's been happening this year just because a lot of astrologers have been following it, and it's kind of hard not to, scroll on Instagram or scroll somewhere and see it, just if you know what you're looking for. They kind of, just like the Mercury retrogrades and things like that, you'll see it post and it kind of like alert you to certain things. But the talk of 2020 has been this Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn. And that is for all of us, our government structures and our foundation. So that has to do with our religions, it has to do with our government faculties and things like that. So it also has to do with uncovering secrets because it's Pluto and Saturn coming together. So a lot of what we've seen as far as, the Catholic priests and, that whole thing, a lot of what we see for impeachment and things like that, a lot of secrets are being uncovered, and that's just on a wide range, but also in our personal lives. The other thing is the sign of Jupiter going into Capricorn, which is what I mentioned. And that happened December 3rd, I want to say. Yes, I think that was December 3rd that Capricorn moved, Jupiter moved into Capricorn. So and that's going to be this next year. So we're going to be experiencing that until December of this year, end of this year.
What's Jupiter into Capricorn?
Capricorn.
What does that mean for the year?
So Jupiter into Capricorn is, for everyone, I think that's going to be a really good time to work on things. So Capricorn, again, is about our work and our foundation. And so it's going to mean that we're going to have an influx of ideas as far as how to get things done. But we could start to see a lot more building structures, a lot more earthquakes, perhaps, because of the fact that it has to do with our foundation and it's Jupiter. It just is like an overabundance of just too much in the ground, right? Like literal abundance in the ground. It's also fertilization, so it's also a lot of growth in general. So in whatever areas of your life that is going to be transiting, you're going to want to take a look at that and just make sure that you're taking advantage of it.
Okay. So a year of growth and development then?
Yes.
It's a good year for that? Okay.
Lots of changes. Okay. And if you are somebody that doesn't like changes, if you're somebody that doesn't like to be challenged, then this is going to be a difficult year for you. But if you like change, if you like challenge, then go with the flow, and it's going to be okay.
Cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Anything else? We done?
Let's go dark for a minute. Just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Will there be any funerals in 2020? You could just look at my chart. I don't think they want to know.
Okay, so, and honestly, answering that question is going to be difficult because wherever you see death is not necessarily in the person's chart that I'm reading. So it will be in another person's chart. So how you would read death is you would read death in that person's chart. So if you were asking if you were ill, I would be more willing to look into your chart and say, okay, well, this is the area, this is how much time I see, this and that kind of thing. Like, this is upcoming. If you had a surgery, I would avoid it on this date, those type of things. But I can't really predict a second cousin dying because, Jupiter is going to be going past the house. That's not really how it works.
Okay, so it's just a too broad of a question.
It's too broad of a question, yes. If you had a specific question, then there's something that is called a horary chart, and that's basically what you're asking is predicting something. It's basically like a tarot reading, but it's with a natal chart. So I would push a button and I would predict myself, and I would basically tell you who it is at that time on what day.
Oh shit, that's crazy. Is that on the one-on-one bookings? That's crazy. That's wild.
The horary is a type of reading. It's just a type
of reading.
Chart, and that's something that you can book with me.
Okay.
Do you see anything bad in my chart? Like just bad?
Your whole life's gonna go to shit.
Oh, hell.
Crazy.
It already feel like you did.
Right.
Just kidding. I see a lot happening in the house. I see a lot happening in your home life. I see a lot happening.
Oh man.
Of bad stuff.
I don't see bad stuff. I just see like if you normally so in this chart, Jasmine, I see that you have periods of like not really depression, but like isolation. Like this sometimes just go through long periods where you just don't feel like dealing with it. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a year where you're going to get to do that.
That sounds really stressful for me because I need those periods.
Yeah. So so that might be the difficulty that you're going to be experiencing is that you're going to have to get stuff done.
Okay.
What about mine?
You said you didn't want to see nothing like that.
Right. I just want to know bad stuff. I don't want to know what kind of bad stuff.
Okay. So what I'm looking at specifically is this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And so,
Never mind. Take it back.
Oh shit.
You gotta say it now.
Take it back.
Wow. Okay. Ooh.
Oh shit, no. I don't like the way you come at me. Stop right now.
Okay. So there is a term called Saturn return. I know I mentioned that you were having a Venus return coming up in a couple days, but you were actually in the middle of your Saturn return. And so in the sky right now, Saturn is at 26 degrees Capricorn, and you, my darling, were born at 25 degrees Capricorn. So the last year and a half, the last 2 years, life has been giving you a lot of lessons, like a lot. But it's in the house of, it's in the third house. So for you, it has to do with, I want to say your siblings, but I want to say it's like something that you are responsible for, or someone you're responsible for. Like you've had a lot to deal with. You've had a lot of responsibilities over the last 2 years, and it's not necessarily going to end because Saturn is still in Capricorn, and it's still teaching you lessons. With that being conjunct the planet Pluto, though, this is not a normal, typical Saturn return. Like every one of us goes through a Saturn return, which is basically the planet Saturn returning to where it was at the time and place that we were born. And so every one of us is going to go through that at the age of 27, 28, 29 years old, depending on what degree what degree your Saturn is. So if your Saturn was at 14 degrees and you were born in the same generation, you would have already had your Saturn return. You know, your friends you may have seen already dealt with some of these things a lot earlier. But for you, this is what you're dealing with it now. But you have the Pluto conjunction, so you may have deaths with that. Like you may have had multiple deaths, or it may be coming up.
I had multiple ones in the last 2 years.
Say that again?
I said I had multiple ones in the last 2 years.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully they're all behind you.
God, I praise him.
Yeah.
This is Pooh, and today's date. Um, what we're looking at right here is this Saturn. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. And then Saturn here. So this green again is the transits. That's what's happening now. And you can see Saturn and Pluto is conjunct with the natal Saturn. So it's the same, and then you can read it on the chart here. So Saturn here, 25 Capricorn, and then you go across, it's 26 Capricorn. And that's with the conjunction of Pluto here. So you are definitely going to want to, look out for that, just because a lot of the planets, well, not a lot of the planets, but some of our planets move faster than others, right? And so, like I mentioned before, the sun moves a degree a day, and Pluto and Saturn is not fast-moving planets. So Pluto stays in a sign, like I mentioned, for like generations, so the generational planets. Saturn stays in a sign every 7 years. So you would have been experienced for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I want to say that Pluto got into Capricorn 2008 is what I said, and 2012, 2014.
You had said, well, you didn't say it on this show, but you were saying that I went through something traumatic in 2008, 2009. Remember? Is it bad that I don't remember that?
Transformation or troubles doesn't always have to be memorable. I mean, they have to do something to us and transform, but it doesn't have to be something that you remember. For a lot of us, it's internal. Anything else?
You scared to ask questions now?
I'm not asking nothing else.
Well, this was like 4 hours, and I can't thank you enough for bearing with us. We were gonna come with the questions, but you're amazing, and I knew you were gonna be amazing, and I wanted everyone to see your amazingness. And you do offer your services, so I want you to kind of tell us about that and tell us where people can find you if they have questions.
Okay. So I do actually 3 different type of readings. So I do astrological readings, and I do human design readings, and that is a whole other beast in itself, and a different type of chart in its entirety, and it's a different way of reading our energy. And another type of reading is astrocartography, and so that is taking your natal chart and putting it on a map, and basically telling all of your birth energies, basically where you travel to, where in the world you would be most likely to find your partner, and where you would find abundance in work and things like that, putting it on an actual map. And so those are the 3 different types of readings that I do: astrology, human design, and astrocartography. And all of those can be found on my website at logicalmermaid.com. And there's a way that you can read a little bit about each of the readings, and also a way that you can just send me an email and just ask me any questions you may have before booking a session.
Yeah, and I'm going to put all of your information in the description box so you guys will have it. And you're on IG at Logical Mermaid, correct?
I'm on Instagram, Pinterest, and I left Facebook.
Anything else you want to say or let us know, or anything else?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I know that you guys were talking and having an astrologer in some time on the season, but I'm glad you guys made me the first guest to come back season 2 with you guys, and it's been a blast. I'm a secretive person myself, so if I didn't give any too much information about myself, that's just because I don't want to do it on a public platform. But whenever you give or get readings from me, I do give information about myself, and I'm a lot more open on a one-on-one kind of setting. So I look forward to working with any of you guys that are interested in astrology. And thanks so much for having me on.
Aw, thank you.
Yes,
And thank you so
thank
much
you.
for the charts. I'm going to blow mine up and frame it. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you definitely got our minds rolling.
Mm-hmm.
When we book our sessions with you, are they 30, 60, 90 minutes? Like,
Those are the options that I have, yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'll link to all of that stuff. So
Okay, awesome.
if you guys want to reach out to her, then we'll have the information available for you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm J Garner Books on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
I'm Say It's Cool, IG.
I am missy.space.ent on Instagram. And Lemon. Where can they find Lemon? Oh, you don't want to? Oh, yeah. All right, you're right.
But remember, guys, we do have our new website up.
That was exciting
Mm-hmm.
and scary at the same time.
What was scary about it? How real that shit was?
How
That's-
on point it was.
Woo! It's like she know me my whole life, right?
Yeah.
She was like, sex. Just sex. Just. How simple can it get?
But yeah, follow us drippinworldwide.com, our new website. We'll get it pretty soon, but for right now it's up. And of course, follow us drippin.s.podcast on IG and Drippin Sex Pod on Facebook and Twitter. And we will see you next week where we will be talking about BDSM again. So if you have any questions or something popped up from watching the first BDSM episode in season 1, just let us know, DM us or whatever, email us. So yeah, getting back to the kinky shit next week.
So crazy.
So yeah, that was a lot. Thank you for riding with us with that one. That was an amazing start to the season, and it gave us a lot to think about, and I'm all about.
Hopefully it gave y'all a lot to think about too.
A lot of information to
By
take
the
in.
end of the season, I'm gonna be better than a C minus because I
I didn't
got
give you C minus. I gave you a regular C.
regular C. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for sticking out for the season premiere, and we will see you next hump day. Bye.
See you guys.